All right, boys and girls, it is up to October the 12th. We're moving right along on the Oscar season. And you know what? You can see the title of the video here. We're going to wade into some potentially controversial territory by talking about the Golden Globes. I know, I don't know. It's like, it's been a really weird, situation and everything because it's like, clearly, they've had work to do. They've had, a lot of stuff, in the news in the last year. And, virtually everything I can say is, pretty much every criticism that's been waved against them, every suggestion that's been made for improvements. What can I say? I mean, 99% of it is completely 100% correct. I mean, they've got work to do with a lot of stuff. And not just about, racial equity and stuff, but just being a proper organization that actually has rules, And a lot of that stuff, in all honesty, a lot of that stuff we were familiar with, those of us who've, known awards history, especially history of the awards bodies and stuff, over, the Oscars and their history over the years and all that. But, I don't know, it's just stuff that we never really thought about. It's stuff that was there, but we didn't really take it for granted. We took it for granted, rather. We didn't really put it front of mind. It's just another award show. And yeah, they've got some really checkered stuff going on behind the scenes every year, virtually, as far as, who gets in, who doesn't, who gets the special treatment and who doesn't. And, frankly, a lot of that, too, has to come down on the studios as well. I mean, I don't know. I think the big example a lot of people looked at last year was the what was the Paris show? Somebody in Paris, Emily in Paris. Yeah. Which, yeah, I don't watch like any TV, so I couldn't tell you how good the show was. But definitely, there were a lot of people that were like, "Why are shows like this getting in when other ones, which were more critically acclaimed and all that stuff, why were they not getting in?" And then it turns out that what was it, like 15 members or something? I'm just pulling that number out. It could be lower or higher. Were actually flown to Paris while they were shooting or while they were doing promotion for the show or whatever. It's like, well, as far as I know, that wasn't just put on by the Golden Globes members. That was like, Netflix was paying for that, right? I would think so. I mean, that's got to be something that I think a lot of people either don't want to acknowledge, don't know about, or don't want to talk about, whatever. The studio, a lot of the onus is on the studio as well. If it's, if the members are rewarded for bad behavior like that by showing favoritism and being personally, not like money stuff, but, bribed in that way or a variation of a bribe or whatever, it's like the studios have to step up and say, we're not going to do that anymore. Not just sit back, continue to do it and say, point the finger and say, why are you doing this? It's like, I don't know. Now, unless there's, that's everything I heard, that was just one example, of course, but everything I've heard said, this wasn't just the Globes members on their own, just coincidentally all together or separately getting flights or whatever. It's like they weren't, no. It's like Netflix had to have a part in that for sure. Anyways, so, so that's obviously a big part of it. So I've been meaning to get around to this. I actually wanted to see the new Bond film, No Time to Die, before doing this video, just to get it out of the way, I guess. But it didn't work out, so I'm like, okay, I had time tonight, so I'm like, here, I'll just go ahead and we'll run down the stuff here. And, normally I'll have something like Gold Derby or one of the other sites to kind of piggyback off of, and I actually haven't not checked the other sites in a while, but last I checked, none of them, like Thompson on Hollywood or Deadline, none of them want to touch the Globes. None of them. So I'm on my own. So I've just got a big sheet here for, what's likely going to end up in which category and stuff. So it's kind of a crapshoot at this point until we get clarifications from either the Globes or the studio. And again, that's if it happens. Now, the reason, too, why I was, more tempted to do this today is we've had a couple pieces in the news here in the last 24 to 48 hours where basically the Globes have come out and said, look, we're still going to have a show this year, presented in 2022 for this season. It's not going to be on NBC because NBC severed their ties with them, at least temporarily, at least for the 1 year. I've heard there's a possibility they could, do it again down the road. But at least for this year, it's not going to be at the same site, I believe, and it's not going to be on NBC. So they're going to have to live stream it or something. So, but it sounds like they're trying to get people hyped for it, and obviously, who's going to show up? Right now, that number is probably going to be pretty small, because especially if the kind of media, Hollywood media, really wants to not push this, they won't push it. And if they want to highlight anybody who does show up and wants to say, "Hey, look, I take the time to," I'm not just trying to badmouth everybody in Hollywood media or anything, but it's just. You got to remember, too, that a lot of these actors, directors, screenwriters, score, all the television people, everybody that would normally be accepting Golden Globes and stuff, remember, they're doing work. I mean, when they get awarded for whatever it is they're awarded for, they've done the work. So they deserve the time and the chance to acknowledge their peers, acknowledge those who voted for them, those who didn't vote for them, the body itself, all that stuff. I think that's fair territory. So, yeah, so it's, I don't know, I think on top of it, there should be not as much pressure on stars who do show up to be blacklisted, is frankly what I want to say. Because if that was really the case, if we were all so pissed off at Oscars So White, then, all the people in the year since wouldn't have shown up if they were just so mad about it. And, obviously the Oscars have gone through a lot of rule changes and, they're implementing new stuff, it seems, every year, adding a lot more members every year, diversifying their group every year. And the Globes is basically like, okay, well, we're trying to catch up now, and we got a lot of heat, maybe even more heat than the Oscars ever did for 2 years of Oscars So White in a row. So where's our redemption at? And it's like right now, it's like everybody has shut the door on that. And obviously, we've got some time in between. Basically, the tide can turn like that if just a couple Hollywood elites or whatever just decide, oh, we're okay with the Globes now. It's like, I think a lot of people will follow like sheep. That's just kind of the way the world goes most of the time. But who knows? So yeah, I'm going to get off the little soapbox here and say, okay, so even if, down the road we'll say, okay, the Globes is like, okay, we're still going to do it. And then it's like, oh, everybody is still firebombing them in like, I don't know, December, January, February, whenever they were going to do the show, and they call it off. You could at least look at this video as speculative. If they would have drawn the battle lines between drama and comedy musical, who would have ended up where, who likely would have been nominated, all that stuff. And that's at this stage of the race. Now, this might end up being the only Globes video we do this year in case, something like that happens where they call off the show. Whatever happens, but at least we're going to take a stab at it. And for me, it's definitely going to be a challenge because I don't have potentially hundreds, if not thousands, of other voices on Gold Derby who also are throwing in their input, and I get to see where they're at on the ranking and stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to put in somebody who's like 100-1 versus somebody who's like, oh, they're the favorite. Maybe I think they're not as strong. It's like all that stuff I don't have to go off. I don't have the experts, other experts out there like Pete Hammond, Ann Thompson, IndieWire, all the other sites. It's like, again, last I checked, they're leaving this down with the dog shit. They don't care. So I'm kind of on my own for what I think the Globes would go for. All right, so basically, we'll go ahead and get started here with the lineup for Best Motion Picture Drama, for who I think is out front to win and who potentially could get nominated down the road, and if their film does really well. So I think number one actually is not my Oscar frontrunner, which is Tragedy of Macbeth, which we can talk about a little bit too, because that one the reviews have come in. Last I checked, it was all 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the critics were loving the presentation of the film, the style of it, the way it was told, basically the interpretation of it. They loved the performances. They said Denzel gives a master performance. Frances McDormand, of course, gives a master performance. I didn't hear so much on Corey Hawkins, who I had pegged pretty early, not to win, but to be nominated and stuff. So that could still happen, obviously, but I've got him a little lower on the list now for I have him out of the 5 for Best Supporting Actor, I put Richard Jenkins in, by the way, for the Oscars. And I think, generally speaking, he's a popular enough actor, even if that movie, The Humans, ends up like Whiplash at the Globes that year, where it only got J.K. Simmons. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a popular enough actor in a popular enough film or whatever that even if it just gets the one nomination at a couple of shows, I think he'll still get into the Oscars for sure. So my number one actually is The Power of the Dog. And I don't know, I just kind of get the sense, this one's from Netflix. Generally they really like Netflix at the Globes, clearly, as we talked about in the example there. But I just think this one will go over well for them. Number two, I have Belfast, which is, more critically speaking, the one that's the more crowd-pleasing film. So I definitely think that one's still got a shot, not only at the Globes here, but I think it can do a huge number at the Oscars. Overperform on nominations morning and then just hang in there and still win, even if it doesn't win every last thing before it. By the way, BAFTA, without shifting the computer all the time, BAFTA is definitely going to go for Belfast, by the way. I really don't see anybody really challenging there, unless we get like a huge frontrunner that just steamrolls the whole race, and it's not Belfast, but we'll get there. Number three is Nightmare Alley. Number four, Tragedy of Macbeth. And number five, I actually have King Richard, which I'm starting to put that one in a lot more. I have it in for picture now. I took out Coda. It's close. That one, 10 and 11 are like really close, I think, for me. I still have Will Smith in, obviously. I have, we'll get to her name later, but supporting actress, Ajong King, or however, again, I'll wait till somebody pronounces it, and then I'll be like, okay, that's what it is, you idiot, but or Ajane King, or no, King, sorry, Ellis is her last, and King Richard, yeah, sorry, I'm going to do that a lot this year too, probably. Okay, so I don't know, I'm starting to think that one's going to have enough stuff behind it, even if it's not going to be a gigantic box office hit, it's going to be on HBO Max, so I don't know, I'm hedging my bets as far as what the box office performance will be. I think it'll still be respectable enough, and I think the word of mouth will be great on it. I don't have him out front yet, but I think Will Smith definitely is ready to bring on a huge campaign and to get everybody behind him. Like, okay, it's time. Will Smith, we're going to get you your Oscar this year. I can sense that already, and we're still like a month plus from the film actually coming out. Number six, I have Dune. I'm trying to remember here because Villeneuve, his films don't always do well in like the picture categories. I'm gonna look back because I think, did Arrival miss for picture that year at the Globes? I cannot remember. I don't think it did. I'm gonna check my math here. Yeah, I got actress and score, and that was it. So it was kind of, I mean, not that it was positioned to do 100 million nominations at the Globes because they don't have the tech categories, whereas at the Oscars it fared a lot better. That's something to consider. Dune is also going to be in that kind of sci-fi category. So even though it's doing really well with critics at 90%, internationally the markets are really responding to it. It's made over 100 million before it opens here in the U.S. Again, it'll be on HBO Max. But yeah, and I'm still looking forward to the film. I still have no idea what the hell the story is. I'll just go along for the ride, but yeah. Number seven, I have House of Gucci. We have to remember Ridley Scott usually does pretty well here at the Globes. Remember, he kind of surprised us a few years back with All the Money in the World, where he got in for director. It got a couple of acting nominations. So I think House of Gucci could actually, I have it like seventh, but it could still come through. And again, a lot of that also depends on how it lands when it finally comes out. Way down in eighth, I have Licorice Pizza. Ninth, I have Spencer. 10th, I have Coda. 11th, The Humans, and 12, I have Mass. And that's kind of the 12 I have right now for like most likely to get in for the drama category. Licorice Pizza, I don't know, I'm just putting it down there because if it's not something like There Will Be Blood, then usually, or Boogie Nights, the Hollywood Foreign Press has not really responded to it for Paul Thomas Anderson. Inherent Vice got a few nominations that year, but I if I remember right, that one only got Joaquin for the comedy musical categories, even if I remember right. But I don't think it got in. Yeah, just Joaquin. Yeah, he was the only nomination at the Globes that year. Yeah, so they don't usually 100% get behind Paul Thomas Anderson. So don't be shocked when I don't have him in for director here at the Globes. Yeah, so that's the drama category. And again, that one feels like we've got almost all the competitors there, doesn't it? It's like we're just missing like one or two. So going over to motion picture comedy musical, where we're kind of lacking here. West Side Story, I do have number one. It's the kind of big musical. Usually the Globes will go for it, whether it's Les Mis or Sweeney Todd or some of those. They'll usually go for the bigger musicals there. Number two, I have Don't Look Up. Number three, French Dispatch. Number four, another musical, Cyrano. And at number five, another musical, In the Heights. Really beyond that, I think the three... Actually, sorry, I forgot one. I haven't seen the last one I'll mention here, but the other three I have my eye on potentially, and really at this point they do seem like long shots, are Tick, Tick, Boom, but that's sight unseen. That one I might bump up once we get the reviews and stuff after AFI Fest. Cruella I have number 7, and Free Guy I actually have at number 8. And I haven't seen Free Guy. I don't know. The first couple trailers I'm like, it looks like it's not for me. And then I don't know. After I kept seeing the trailers and stuff in front of movies, so I'm like, I don't know. The more I saw it, the more I'm like, okay, I think it looks like fun. I'll see it. I haven't caught up with it, but it's I don't know. It got pretty good reviews. Yeah, so I think it's actually one that if it's it's kind of one of those, it'd have to be one of those like popular enough films to get a nomination here at the Globes. And then I do have just depending on how the ruling goes, Respect and Licorice Pizza are two right now I have in the drama category, but I can see them being like a comedy musical if the studio or if the awards body kind of leans in that way. I don't know, especially Respect being, a musical biopic. It's like, yeah, traditionally they would have gone musical comedy with those. But, I don't know, lately, especially Bo Rap and some of those, it's like, no, they just go drama. Star is Born being the other one. So that's that category. For the directing category, I do have Jane Campion out front for Power of the Dog. Then number 2, I actually have Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. So that's how much I think that one will stand a good chance. Guillermo del Toro, I have in third for Nightmare Alley. Just remember the Globes voters, they even though Guillermo did win, I don't know, I've heard it pronounced both ways, at the Oscars and at the Globes for Shape of Water, traditionally the repeat ones don't usually happen. I mean, I think, I'm trying to think. Like, if they've won recently, they usually only win one or the other kind of deal. Like, actually, Iñárritu, I couldn't think of his name for a minute there. Iñárritu, actually, remember, he lost the Globe for Birdman, won for Revenant, and then actually went on to win the Oscar for The Revenant again. But, he didn't win both ceremonies both years. So, yeah, so I would, I have him lower on the list here than maybe I would at the Oscars. Number 4, I have Joel Coen for Tragedy of Macbeth. And number 5, I have Steven Spielberg in for West Side Story. And these bottom two, I think, could shift. It really depends on how those films hit. And yeah, I'm looking at the list here. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it'd have to be kind of a surprise, kind of shocker kind of nomination to get in there right now, it seems. But we'll see. Number 6, I actually do have Ridley Scott for House of Gucci, just because he is so well liked here at the Globes. Then I do have Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza. Number 8, I have Denis Villeneuve for Dune. Number 9, I have Sian Heder for Coda. Number 10, Pablo Larraín for Spencer. Number 11, I haven't heard a lot of buzz yet on this one in the director category, so it could start at the Globes. And that's Ronaldo Marcus Green, who's our director on King Richard. So that's one I can see, kind of being like an Emerald Fennel, kind of one of those nominations that it's like, it kind of bubbles up a little bit before the show, and then when it happens, everybody's like, oh, okay, that's happening, and then it, kind of goes from there. I don't know, we'll see. And again, it also will depend on how that film does and how it's viewed and stuff, and how the rest of the audiences respond to it, because again, it did very well at Telluride. Okay, moving on to the acting categories now. Best Actor Drama. This one, other than the two drama categories here, again, feel pretty full here. So I have number 1 being Will Smith for King Richard. I just think he'll score here. And again, especially it'll help if his film is up for motion picture drama. It would really help his case. He'd almost be unbeatable, I think, if, for example, Ronaldo does get in for director, and somebody like a Denzel, Tragic Macbeth, his director, Joel Coen, misses in director, just to show the popularity of the film. Now, that's not a guarantee, but it sure is a strong damn sign. So I have Denzel second for Tragedy of Macbeth. Third, I have Benedict Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog. Number 4, I have Joaquin Phoenix actually getting in for Come On, Come On, I Don't Have Men at the Oscars. And number 5, I do have Adam Driver in for House of Gucci. So I'm leaving out Bradley Cooper right now for Nightmare Alley. That one could easily happen, especially if a couple more guys who I have in line to be nominated at the Oscars, like DiCaprio and Peter Dinklage right now. Those are my other two, aside from Cumberbatch, Washington, and Smith. Those two are going to be in the comedy musical categories, at least we can assume. So, yeah, it seems at this point, it's you're going to have a couple guys that can get in it. It seems like Joaquin and Adam, they kind of feel like they're on that list for the Oscars in like the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, kind of in that territory there. Bradley Cooper could also be in there. He's going to have a candidacy also for Licorice Pizza, but again, we'll wait until both films open, then we'll see. Maybe he is going to angle more for one, or maybe he can get both. We'll have to see. Next, I have Michael B. Jordan for A Journal for Jordan. I haven't heard a lot of buzz on it yet, but I think that one we'll gradually see that one build. Stephen Yeun for The Humans, Cooper Hoffman for Licorice Pizza, and again, that's under the assumption it stays in the comedy or in the drama rather, not comedy musical. And number 10, I actually have Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, and again, we haven't really heard much about that one yet. Last I checked, we have not seen a trailer for that one yet, or really too many like set photos or anything. So, yeah, we'll again, no news at this point is a little distressing if you really think it has a decent shot at getting a few awards. Okay, move on to Best Actress Drama. Kristen Stewart I have out front here for Spencer. Then number 2 is Jessica Chastain for Eyes of Tammy Faye. Remembering that she has won at the Globes before for Zero Dark 30. Third, I have Frances McDormand for Tragedy of Macbeth. Fourth, I have Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter. And in fifth, right now, in the drama category, I have Jennifer Hudson in for Respect. So I'm leaving out Penelope Cruz, who I do have in at the Oscars. She's my fifth one. The top 4 I have in for Best Actress right now. And that's usually because these acting categories, they don't always miss the foreign language performances, but they can. It's been especially true at SAG over the years, up until technically last year with Minari getting 2, and Ensemble. But I remember nobody from Parasite got in, but it still got Ensemble in 1. So I don't know. And remember, Antonio Banderas did get in for the last Almodovar effort. I was going to say, and again, I've forgotten the name of that film. It's Pain and Glory. There we go. Came to me a lot faster than it usually does. Okay, I have her down in 7th and 6th. Did I name Lady Gaga? Yeah, I have her for House of Gucci. She's, just being we want the famous people there is usually, not usually, but can be a big reason for why some of these bigger name stars get, nominated and stuff. But again, if they're all just going to be a no-show, then it might not matter. So I have her kind of, again, lower on the list for that. Let's see, I'll take out my next one because it was going to be Katrina Balfe, or Balfe. Again, I don't watch that show, so I don't know. For Belfast, but it sounds like she's actually going supporting. So we might see her in supporting instead, but I think she's got a co-star that'll probably knock her out. Then in 8th place, I have Cate Blanchett for Nightmare Alley, and number 9 is Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos. Okay, then for the comedy musical categories, Best Actor, I think Peter Dinklage is actually out front in front of DiCaprio. DiCaprio did win for Wolf of Wall Street and for The Revenant in the last decade. He's been nominated a lot more times since, or in between and stuff. And he was nominated for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And Dinklage, I think at the Globes, I'm going to double check this, but I think he only won like once for Game of Thrones. Let's see. This will probably help us here. Works and accolades. There we go. Okay, yeah. Because I know he's gotten at least one win. Oh, shit. Yeah, here we go. One nomination. I think it was actually the first year. It was either the first or the second season, and that's the only time he was nominated at the Globes. So for Game of Thrones. Versus, the Emmys, he won virtually like every year or whatever. But I don't know. I can definitely see them unless somebody else comes up, yeah, I think they would go with him naturally. So I do have DiCaprio in second. In third, I have Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom. In fourth, I have Ryan Reynolds for Free Guy. I'm convinced that's going to happen. He got in for Deadpool. And I easily see him making this list. And in fifth, I have Anthony Ramos or Ramos. I've heard both pronunciations again for In the Heights. So just outside that, I have actually a previous Globe nominee, Ansel Elgort for West Side Story. I have him out for Best Actor right now, but yeah, that could change. Timothée Chalamet for French Dispatch. Again, that's assuming he's lead. I haven't heard anybody say he's not the kind of lead of that film. And then eighth is Ben Platt for Dear Evan Hansen. That one feels like it's going to end up in the comedy musical, even though again it's a very very serious subject matter. I don't know. I just get the sense that one's going to go in the comedy musical. All right, and then for Best Actress in a comedy musical, I have Rachel Zegler actually out front for West Side Story, the newcomer. Melissa Barrera in second for In the Heights. Emma Stone in third for Cruella. Jennifer Lawrence in fourth for Don't Look Up. And I have Haley Bennett in for Cyrano. Again, we've heard so far from the studios, or we get the sense that she's going to be supporting for that. But I can see them at the Globes going lead, kind of like The Prom last year with Meryl Streep. She was candidate to be in lead. If I remember right, she did not even get in. So, if I remember right, because it was Corden and the film that got in. That was it, yeah. And really, after that, I'm kind of scratching my head, because I'm like, I can't think of anybody else that's going to be in this category. So in six, I have Jodie Comer for Free Guy. And I didn't put her on the list there for Best Actress Drama for The Last Duel, but I don't know. I just get the sense that one's really not going to go anywhere in the acting categories. All right, then moving on to the supporting categories. Supporting actor, I have 10 candidates here. Out front, I have Jared Leto for House of Gucci. Number 2, I have Richard Jenkins for The Humans. Number 3, Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza. Number 4, I have Jesse Plemons for Power of the Dog. And in fifth place, I have Kieran Hines for Belfast. I actually think he's going to get in. I think Belfast is going to virtually really have a really strong chance of overperforming here at the nominations, and then, kind of going from there. And I'm going to look, does it not have a... because I don't have nomination predictions right now for like score or song, because we're really early for song, and I don't know all the info for that yet. And score, I mean, it's kind of one of those where it's like, okay, maybe, you don't really have, again, all the pieces you need. You just kind of look at, okay, where are the famous composers? What films are they doing? Do they still have a shot? Kind of that's kind of how it goes. And it's Van Morrison is listed as doing the score. So yeah, I can really see that getting 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 nominations on the Globes morning, and that could be one that surprises us. So I don't have Cody Smith-McPhee in there for Power of the Dog. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't really get a sense that both of them are going to get in here at the Globes. Remember, in recent years, obviously Lakeith Stanfield got in nowhere before he got in at the Oscars for last year for Judas and the Black Messiah. And that Woody Harrelson missed a lot of the early awards bodies for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. So it wouldn't shock me at all to see one or the other miss this one. And right now, even though Cody Smith-McPhee has been coming on a little stronger than Jesse has, just off the word of mouth and after me personally seeing the film, I don't know. I would say right now Jesse's role leans itself more into that, even though Cody Smith-McPhee, I think, arguably has a little bit more screen time in the second half. The first half kind of belongs to Cumberbatch with, Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, still being there for sure, but definitely more Benedict Cumberbatch. The second half of the show is really a duo between Cumberbatch and Cody Smith-McPhee. So, I don't know. It's a tough call, but I think I have McPhee out right now. Corey Hawkins I have down in 7th for Tragedy of Macbeth. In 8th place, Jason Isaacs for Mass. Willem Dafoe in 9th for playing himself in a movie by Nightmare Alley. And in 10th, I have Richard E. Grant for Everybody's Talking About Jamie. Okay, then I also have 10 in for Supporting Actress. Out front, I still have Marlee Matlin for Coda. Ann Dowd in 2nd place for Mass. Kirsten Dunst in 3rd for Power of the Dog. Then I have Judi Dench for Belfast. And Ajon Ellis for, or Eilish, it could be pronounced that way too, for King Richard. So I have Ariana DeBose, even though I think West Side Story, again, is going to do pretty well here at the Globes, especially in those comedy musical categories. I have her missing here. Ruth Negga I have in 7th place for Passing. And Tessa Thompson definitely could also get in for lead actress drama as well. Jane Howdyshell for The Humans I have as a possibility. And then both Toni Collette and Rooney Mara for Nightmare Alley I have also as a chance getting in here as well. Okay, then for the screenplay category, remember there is just one screenplay category here at the Globes. Belfast I actually have in 1st place. I think that it's going to win something. Whether or not it wins drama, picture, or maybe it surprises us and wins director, it could happen. But right now I think screenplay is where I'm putting it out front. Then I have Power of the Dog. Licorice Pizza, I believe that one will get in for screenplay. Tragedy of Macbeth I have in 4th place, and then Nightmare Alley I have squeaking by French Dispatch, which is really close in 6th. That one I could actually really easily see the Globes going for that one, even if it maybe later on down the line could miss something like WGA, BAFTA, or the Oscars, or all three, or a combination of the three, and maybe like makes one, misses the other two, whatever. Then I have Coda in 7th, The Humans in 8th, West Side Story way down in 9th, because again, they don't really traditionally go for musicals there in screenplay, except La La Land. 10th, I have House of Gucci. 11th, I have King Richard, Mass in 12th, and Being the Ricardos in 13th. And really, Being the Ricardos, I have dead last, but I really should raise that up because they do, here at the Globes especially, they love their Aaron Sorkin. Remember, he won last year for Chicago 7, and he won for Steve Jobs, and he won for Social Network. And I believe was nominated also for one spot he didn't get in at the Oscars, and that was A Few Good Men. And there's probably a nomination or two I'm missing there. Plus, obviously, all his years on West Wing. So they love their Sorkin. So that one, even if it somehow like really disappoints in the top categories, maybe it gets like Nicole Kidman and screenplay. You know, kind of like Molly's Game. I think Molly's Game got in here as well, didn't it? That year for screenplay, I'm pretty sure it did. Now that I think about it. Booyah. Yeah, it did. And it actually, again, I can see it almost repeating that, actually, getting, you know, an acting nomination, again, whether it's Javier or it's Nicole Kidman, and then, yeah, and then that's kind of it. Anyway, so I forget, when is this one coming out? Does it have a release date even from Amazon yet? I don't know. I looked at it and I didn't see it had one. And I do have this pretty solidly in the drama category. I mean, it could, you know, obviously it's about, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz and the Lucy Show and the relationship and stuff. So there's going to be some moments where they either recreate or, you know, set up the classic scenarios and stuff. So you could make an argument maybe it will go comedy musical, but I don't know. I just think it's going to stick drama. I just think it's going to do that. It's a pretty solid bet. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of about it for now, I guess. Again, obviously, a lot of this is really speculative. We don't even know where the studios are at right now for, okay, do we have even a game plan at all for the Globes? Or are we going to turn our backs to them and just say, you know, like everything else, screw you, you know, flip them the bird and move on? I don't know. They could very easily. And definitely that's true for the actors. The actors, remember, they more so than the producers, the directors, the screenwriters, the gaffers, you know, all the people behind the scenes, they more so than anybody else will really be sniped by the media if everybody's like, no, we're not ready for people to like the Globes yet. And I don't mean to put it that way, like it's already decided or whatever, but you know, just I say that more joking than anything else. But it's like, I don't blame any actors right now who want to stay away from this, even if they get nominated, even if they feel they deserve to be nominated and recognized by, you know, a body like this, or really any body of awards voters anywhere. Doesn't really matter. It's like if they feel they've done the work, you know, it's like I feel for them if they feel pressured and, you know, really, really, you know, for lack of a better word, manipulated by public opinion to not show up and to not support this. And for my money, it's like, you know what? The Globes have always been a fun show to watch, really fun to predict, especially when you get into the difference between drama and comedy musical, and all that. And again, regardless of how this goes, even if the Globes completely go defunct and we don't even have them next year or ever again, or even this year or ever again, somebody's got to pick up that mantle, right? Somebody's got to pick up and say, look, we love our award shows. Let's keep going with the difference between comedy, musical, and drama. Because even though, there's it's obviously an age-old argument. Which one's tougher? Which one's better? Which one shows the better actor? Are you a better actor if you can do the drama stuff, the dramatic stuff, and make people cry from drama and from sadness, or, tears of joy from drama? Or is it better and more talented and higher up on the difficulty scale if you can make them laugh so hard that they cry, that they laugh so hard they wet themselves? All it's an age-old argument, and it's, all the different actors through the years, they've been misquoted as saying it. I don't know who even said it. And I can probably Google it. Who's to say Google's right? Because it's so, I don't know. So mythological anymore, but it's like the age-old joke and saying that tragedy and dying is hard. Sorry, I fucked it up. It's drama and dying and tragedy is easy. It's comedy that's hard. That's the saying. Anyway, so I don't know. I always like that they do that, and a lot of the actors and actresses and producers, everybody who gets to go up to the mic for those comedy musical categories, they're always like, "Thank you for recognizing us." It's a place where something like The Hangover can get a major awards win. It's like that one clearly had no shot at all at being a huge Oscar player that year, but it got recognized by the Golden Globes. Bridesmaids did really well at the Globes that year and kind of took off from there. Got in at SAG even that year for ensemble. It's like it really did very, very well. And you could argue, obviously, part of that was also the momentum of the film. It's like clearly there was enough there. But man, if it wasn't for the Globes and that comedy musical thing, who knows? And they've given a lot of actors their first awards, their first touch of that, award-winning, kind of pedigree. So, and that's whether that's comedy, musical, or drama, it doesn't matter. It's, I want that to continue. Whatever happens with the Globes, whether they're bad, good, in between, whatever, we should really keep that going. We should continue that through the years. All right. I don't know. I don't have much else to say here. So, so I feel like that's it again for this kind of theoretical what if kind of scenario. If everything goes to plan, obviously this will kind of be the first in the line of videos, and we'll revisit this later. But we'll see what the terrain is when we get further down the road. We'll see what the awards body itself, what the Globes really want to say for that stuff. If they want to continue to back themselves and say, yes, we're doing it. Come to our show. We're going to put on a show. It might not be televised on NBC. Maybe they'll try to get somebody else to pick them up. We'll see. But yeah, and it's it's a thing where it's like, what, if the Globes do bounce back from this and become an actual totally respectable awards body, which could happen. I mean, we can't totally ignore that possibility. That's got to be one of the best comebacks in history for something like this, Hollywood based, right? It's got to be one of. All right. Okay, I was going to throw in a Richard Nixon joke, but that feels like it's out of left field. Best comeback since Nixon, right? Loses the presidency in 1960, loses his Senate race 4 years later, 6 years later, whatever it was, but then comes back and wins the presidency. What do you know? Anyways, all right, that's enough of that. I'll come back later when we have more stuff to talk about for Oscars. Eventually we'll get into SAG and maybe touch up. I don't do full predictions anymore for Critics' Choice, but and then we'll kind of I'll have to wait and see, because BAFTA is so weird anymore with the way they pick their nominees. I'm just going to wait till we get shortlists, so we'll talk about that one later. But again, early bid for that one. Put your money on Belfast at the BAFTAs. I don't really see anyone else winning. Okay, I've overstayed my welcome. Bye bye.